Recently, I did a really powerful coaching call with a high schooler in my coaching program, and I helped her completely reshift her energy and reclaim and elevate her motivation in under 1 hour. How did I do that? So that is exactly what we're going to discuss in this video. I want to share with you my tested and proven 4C motivation reset framework that took me decades to develop, refine, and perfect. So I will share that with you. If you have a teenager or young adult kid, meaning a high schooler, a college student, or recent college graduates who are just so capable, have so much potential, but they're just not doing what they are supposed to do to completely unleash their potential to achieve their goals in school, in sports, in career, in life, this video is for you. And so before I dive into the training, let me do a quick introduction regarding who I am. So my name is Dr. AI, that is my name. And I have been working in education for more than 2 decades. Over the last 20 plus years, I served hundreds of young people, helping them end procrastination and self-doubt, gain clarity regarding who they are and what they want to do in life so that they can really achieve their goals in school, in sports, in life, in career, whatever they are trying to pursue, and completely unleash their potential and bring their life to a new level. And I'm really honored that my work has been featured in Forbes, LinkedIn, Adobe. In fact, I have been collaborating with Adobe for quite a few years. And Katie Couric Media, I was actually interviewed by Katie Couric regarding my coaching curriculum. And I also have the great honor to deliver a TEDx talk, which is actually featured on the main TED platform. So really, really honored to be acknowledged by all of those incredible media publications, organizations. So anyway, without any further ado, let's dive into the training. In case you have a kid who is kind of a little bit stuck in their life, they need that motivation that can actually last longer than just a few hours, this video is for you. Please keep on watching. Hi, welcome back. It is me again. So as I share with you, so in this training, you are going to learn how my entire process, how I helped a high schooler reclaim her motivation in under 16 minutes. So there are 3 sections for today's training. And first, I will this is a true story, happened a few weeks ago, and the story of a high schooler. And then the second part of the training is that I will share with you my 4C motivation reset framework, and that you can apply to your own kid if they need some push, if they need some motivation, and not just based on feelings, but based on research that actually works. And please make sure you pay attention to the second section. And lastly, as all of my videos, I want to give you one big idea and takeaway that you can use for your kid and for your entire family. My intention for every single video that I share with you in this year is that for every video, you can have an immediate takeaway, you can have an immediate win. And with that, please make sure you also download my 10 plus page implementation guide that comes with this training. So in the implementation guide, you are going to see the entire framework. You're going to see, like, I actually add additional research that I don't have time to cover in the training. Highly recommend you download the implementation guide that I spend lots of time to prepare for you guys to really help you anchor in the learning so that you can actually apply. It is completely free. Just enter your information. When you go to the second page, you'll be able to download. And if you are interested in having your kid work with me one-on-one in my high touch coaching program, so in the link, there's in the description, there's a link that you can book a clarity consultation with me. This option is for serious parents only because you have limited time, I have limited time, and I only have 1 spot available every single month. So yes. Okay, so let's get started with the story of this high schooler. So let's call this young lady Sarah to protect her privacy. And the story is absolutely accurate. So Sarah is a high school sophomore. She's very smart. She's very capable. She absolutely loves God. And she's also a very strong student athlete. So here's what she told me. So after the New Year break, we restart our coaching calls. And she said that, hey, Dr. I have lost my spark and motivation. And I want you to pause here for a second. If you have a kid who came to you, who told you, hey, mom or dad or grandparent, listen, I have completely lost my drive, what would you say? Like, think about that for a second. So I will share with you what I did, my magic. I will also share with you my 4C framework. So hopefully you can apply the same thing. But that's what she told me. Sarah said, I have completely lost my spark and motivation. And I didn't overreact because this is the story I hear from almost all of my students, especially after a really nice winter break. And so I listened to her very calmly and I did my magic, which is the 4C motivation reset you're going to learn today. And I help her reconnect to her goals. And you will discover that lots of young people, they give up, or we say that they're so lazy, they are just procrastinator. It's not actually because your kid is really that lazy. It's really because they have no idea regarding what is their goal. People lose momentum, they lose that desire to take action when they see no hope. And this is the case definitely for high schoolers and college students and college graduates. So I really help her reconnect to that goals. And so in less than 60 minutes, I literally saw the shift in her energy literally in front of my eyes. This is why I love working with young people so much. And I'm still here going strong after 20 years. And it is so fulfilling to see that her energy just shifted, her posture changed, her voice changed, and she was actually elevated. I know in that moment, I have definitely reignited her heart. She knows why she's doing this, even though school is hard, school can be boring, all of that. And so she's ready to go. So right after the call, 60 minutes, and so she immediately sent me a text message to tell me how much she really appreciated and immediately scheduled the next call for next week. So that is the power when you have a really good coach who can really give your kid that transformation, because this person invests in someone like me thousands of dollars and 20 years doing this, literally condense everything into a 60-minute session to be able to reclaim her motivation. So this is the story. And how did I do that? I'm going to share this with you. So this is my 4C motivation reset. And once you download my implementation guide, so in the guide, you will be able to take a screenshot of this and high resolution. So the very first C is clarify. And I'm going to explain each of the elements to you. The second C is connect. Third one is coach. The last one is commit. Okay, clarify, connect, coach, and commit. So I'm going to explain each of them to you. Okay, so the very first one is clarify. This is where, again, there's no judgment here because many parents, you guys, you're not a coach. So this is where I see lots of caretakers and then parents, grandparents, and they actually fail because as soon as we hear, like in Sarah's case, and she was like, I have lost my motivation. And we become so triggered. We jump into our own assumptions, conclusions. Oh my God. So I have some examples here. So we jump into our own conclusions. It was like, what's wrong with you? Why like you're so lazy? You're just like, so we start our own assumptions, and that typically turns off a kid. They don't, okay, mom, dad, I don't want to talk to you anymore. You don't understand. So they walk away, they shut down, they lock themselves into their room, and they start crying. They spend hours playing video games, social media. This is such a typical pattern that I see in lots of young people. And so when she told me that, she said, Dr. I have completely lost my spark, motivation. And so in my head, I was like, how can that be possible? You just spend a winter break. But I didn't say that. So like, okay, you have lost your drive. You have lost your spark. Tell me more. What do you mean by that? And then she said, I think I'm just tired. And then I said, you're tired? You literally just finished a really nice winter break. How come you are tired? So what I'm doing here is really to poke holes in terms of her logic. And she was like, yeah, you're right. I just spent a very nice holiday time with my parents, with my family. I had a great time. How come I'm really tired? Maybe I'm not really tired. Maybe something else is going on that I feel like I have lost my spark. So that is kind of the conversation we had. And the key is, And so really I listen, I engage with her, and the questions I ask are all judgment free. I wasn't being judgmental. I was being the curious student. Okay. So parent, when your kid is telling you something that you're like, what? Why did you feel that way? So I want you to detach for a moment from your own feelings and emotions and judgment. And I want you to wear the hat of being a curious student. Like, tell me more why you feel that way. So that's exactly what I did. So after a few back and forth, maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, didn't really take that long, and we got to the real issue. So the reason is not that she's tired, as she was thinking about. The reason is that after so many years in school, after a really nice winter break, what was really going on is that she has lost her spark for school. She has really lost her motivation for school. And then once we get to that moment, she's like, please give me back my motivation. And so I want to share this with you. And so the key for the very first C is clarify, get to the real issue here is that whatever you hear from the student, the initial, what I want to say is that that initial statement is typically a signal, a symptom, never ever the real issue, right? Or sometimes kids like, I hate you, you're so annoying. All of those are signals. You cannot be triggered by the signal. You really have to go deeper beyond the signal. What is the signal telling you about some deeper issue? So the very first C, the takeaway for parents like you guys is that when you hear anything, the very first initial response from your kid, do not overreact, just like what I did here. Be the curious student. Hey, I hear you, tell me more. So that is the very first C, which is to clarify. Now we get to the second C, which is connect. And so the key here is that you really want to validate your children's feelings. Can you imagine, like if you have a conversation with your husband and you are just having a really tough day, or with your wife, or with your friend, coworker, which is a very close person, and you're just having a really tough day, and you share with this person, you just said, I'm just so disappointed in my life. And you said that, and then whoever is listening told you, what's wrong with you? Why are you so disappointed in your life? You have a great house, you have blah, 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 blah. So when you hear that from the person, will that encourage you or discourage you from continuing to share whatever is inside you? The answer is discourage you from continuing the conversation. Why? Because you feel like you don't feel validated, right? So if you really want to turn every conversation with your kid, especially uh, negative, I don't say negative, especially conversations about problems. And those are actually powerful conversations that you can turn every conversation into a powerful coaching moment or parenting moment to really help your kid learn an important life lesson and gain life wisdom. And so the key, in order to get to stage 3, stage 4, where the real conversation actually happens, you really want to calm down the feelings. You really want to calm down. So what we say in psychology is, so inside a human, there's an animal brain. The animal brain functions like a crazy monkey, right? So if the monkey is agitated, if the monkey is really active, the thinking brain is not working. So you really want to calm down the monkey brain, which is the reptilian brain. The way you do that is to validate their feelings. So that is exactly I did with her. So I listened to Sarah. I really connected with her. So I hear you. Tell me more. What do you mean by that? I did not overreact. I'm like, why did you feel that way? I can't understand. You're such a good kid. What's wrong with you? Like, I absolutely did not overreact. That would be a killer to the conversation. So I stayed calm and I didn't make any judgmental comments like this. Sometimes, that's what I said earlier. Parents, even though I think because we love our kids so much, it is always harder to have such conversations with our children. I have 3 boys myself. It is so much easier for me to coach other people's kids than my own because of that emotional baggage, emotional connection. But anyway, those are just some common statements I hear from my students regarding what they hear from their parents. Shaming, labeling, all of those are not good. So the principle that you really want to practice is this one. This is one of my core coaching principle, which is connection first, education second. Okay, now that is the second C, connect. If you do not do this, even though you have like a Harvard school level coaching or a parenting lecture, your kid is not going to listen because their monkey brains like, oh, agitate, like I can't hear, I can't hear. Like I think you can relate. So imagine like a worst case in your life when you look back, when you think about your life. So think about a really emotional, draining, or very tough situation in your life. Maybe you lost your job, maybe someone passed away, maybe a breakup. So in many of those emotional draining moments, if someone comes over to teach you like a big lesson, to give you a big lecture regarding blah blah blah, you don't have the emotional capacity to even listen to what is going on, because all of your energy is consumed to cry about the situation, to be mad about the situation, to be angry about the situation, or to be sad about the situation, that you have no intellectual capacity left to actually think and digest, which is a very complex human brain process that I definitely don't want to get into in this training here. But this is something I explain to my students so that they can really, really understand. But the takeaway for you right now is that you really have to, as much as you don't want to, practice this connection first, like listen to your kid, validate their feelings. And but just because you validate it doesn't mean you're great, right? Like my kids, they're like, mom, so my youngest is 4 years old, and he loves watching Pepper Pig. And like, can I watch another episode? As we already said, no more TV. You cannot. He will feel sad. So I validate, oh, I hear you. I can see that you're really, really, really sad. Just because I validated him doesn't mean that I agree with him. Doesn't mean that, hey, let's stay up late for another hour and watch another episode. No, I have my own policy. I have my own perspective. You need to go to sleep. But I validate, right? So validation doesn't mean agreement. So I want to make that connection, distinction. So if you can really practice this, you are already going to see. Thank you so much for the love, my screen monitor. And so if you can really practice this, you are going to see a huge difference in terms of your children's receptiveness or response, how they respond to your coaching, to your lecture, to your teaching, to your parenting, because they feel like, okay, my parents, they actually understand me, they hear me, right? So this is exactly what happened to Sarah. So after her feeling like, after those initial conversations, she really felt heard and validated. So she like, because in the very beginning she was like, doctor, I lost my job, oh my god, I don't know what to do, I just hate school, blah blah blah. And so she was calm. How did I know that? I saw the energy shift. Like, okay, so when I saw the shift in her energy, I know, okay, she's ready to receive my coaching. Connection first, education second. And then that is the third C, which is coaching. So this is where lecture, but I don't really lecture, I coach. So this is where the teaching, the education, the learning happens. So in this particular, so every coaching call is different, right? So I help my students with three things. One is motivation, executive functioning skills, time management skills, organizational skills. And another aspect I help my students is self-doubt, imposter syndrome, fear of failure. And the third aspect I help the students in my coaching programs is clarity, internal self clarity and future life, career, even school major clarity. And so every coaching call is different. However, this is where coaching happens. And in the context of this conversation with Sarah, so here, what I did was really reframe motivation as a myth. This is actually a really common pattern that I have observed in hundreds of young people over the last 2 decades. Many parents, they come to me, they tell me, hey, Dr. Hai, my kid needs more motivation. They need to follow through. They need to have better time management skills. All of that is correct. However, motivation is never the problem. Even though I say that I give your kids more motivation, I do know for a fact motivation is never the problem. It's never the solution. And so what I mean by that here, so motivation is actually a myth. And so motivation is a feeling. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you do not. So can you imagine making major life decisions based on a feeling that is not reliable? right? So it is good when you on days when you feel motivated. But how about on days you don't feel motivated, but you actually have to do the work? That's not good. So this is exactly what happened to Sarah and hundreds of my other students, because many of them, including your kid, they are waiting for motivation to come. And I have a bad news for you guys, for your kid. Some days motivation will come, maybe 20%, the 80-20 rule, and 80% motivation is not going to come. So are you not going to do the homework? Are you now going to meet the deadline? Are you now going to submit that resume? Are you now going to reach out to that professor? Are you not going to do your physical practice? I work with lots of athletes. And no, the answer is you have to, right? So, but the problem for lots of young people is that they are relying on something that is actually unreliable. It is almost like saying, I will only go exercise when the temperature is good. You have a specific temperature requirement, right? So, like, if you are an athlete, you need to exercise every day, regardless of the temperature. And so yes, I already give you lots of examples here. I have this one, me and social media. I already mentioned this example so many times on my channel. So I myself, I have a heart, I have a hate and love relationship with social media. I benefit so much from sharing my content online. So thank you so much for watching. Um, Many of my media interviews happened because they enjoy my content, they discover me online. I have worked with students mostly from the United States, but also international, from China, from Korea, from Saudi Arabia, from the UK, from European countries. Even though I never visited many of those countries, they discover me through social media. So I really love that for social media. I'm really thankful, appreciative. However, social media is such a, like, can really make you waste lots of time and definitely affects your mental health. So that is a fact. Research has shown. I notice myself when I'm spending lots of time on social media, I just feel like my brain is very scattered. I'd rather just read a book, have a cup of tea. That is my favorite. And so the entire last year, I was really relying on motivation to post on social media. When I feel motivated, it's like Sarah. Oh, I don't feel motivated. Therefore, I don't really want to do the homework. Or like, I don't feel motivated to post on social media. Therefore, I don't want to post. All of those are recipes for failure. Therefore, my social media content last year was not good. Why? Because my feeling was unstable. Like, 20% of the time I feel really motivated. Let's go. I post 5 pieces of content. I did record quite a number of videos, but the like half of the year, if not longer, 8 out of the 12 months last year, I wasn't feeling motivated to post on social media. And plus, I already gained so much joy from serving my students. Sometimes I don't feel the need to post on social media anyway, because I relied on my feelings of motivation last year, motivation, inspiration, therefore social media strategy last year didn't really work out. And just like Sarah here, and you'll probably hear this from many of your students, from many of your children, they say, hey mom, you ask your kid to do something, and your kid will say, hey mom or dad, I don't feel like it. I don't want to do it. I don't feel like it. Right. So many of them, they are using feelings to dictate their decision making. And that is a big mistake. And lots of research has really backed this up. Here's one of my favorite book here. And the title of the book is literally The Motivation Myth. And so many people, they rely on motivation as a prerequisite. They're like, I need a motivation to come first, and then I will take action. I will typically tell my students, good luck, keep waiting. Because motivation is oftentimes a byproduct of taking action. It is never, ever a prerequisite for taking action. When you start taking action, take more action, consistent action, and slowly more and more motivation will come. And so this is the book I'm reading recently. And so if you haven't, and you should definitely check out this video here. And I share with you, I talk about this book and share with you my reading process for knowledge retention and for mastery. Definitely check out that if you want your kids to read more books, and even more importantly, not only read more books, but actually remember the knowledge, apply the knowledge so that they can become the leader. So in this book I'm reading right now, A Path Through the Jungle, written by Professor Steve Peters. He's a really well-known psychologist and coach like myself in the UK. He has worked with lots of athletes. Really incredible. I really, really love this book. So in this book, there's an entire chapter talking about the difference between commitment and motivation. So you can see here, right? So commitment is a structured approach with a plan, right? And where I'm going to discuss this in a second, which works regardless of how we feel. Just like Sarah, you need to do your schoolwork. You need to do your training. Sarah is incredible athlete. You need to do your training regardless how you're feeling. Your kid, they need to do their homework regardless of how they're feeling. They need to submit that resume. So I work with lots of young adults who are in the job market. Like they already graduated from college. Like, oh my God, the market is so tough. I'm coaching them to have a LinkedIn strategy, all of that. You need to send out that LinkedIn connection request. You need to be commenting on LinkedIn. You need to do job search on LinkedIn. When you feel like it, do it. When you don't feel like, you have to do it, right? So that is the difference between commitment and motivation. But motivation here relies on, motivation can help to bring added enthusiasm, but it relies on feelings, which can change quickly. That's exactly the myth of motivation. It changes that quickly. Sometimes it is here, sometimes it is not here. I really love the metaphor here. Motivation is the icing on the cake. The commitment is the cake, right? So you want the cake. It's nice to have the icing, but it is still okay without the icing, right? So this really helps you remember this. And so motivation is unreliable. And this is where I did the coaching moment. I also shared this book with you. So here at this point, I have already shifted her mindset, right? A big part of what I do is to reframe the meaning, is reframe how my students look at something. Like in this case with Sarah, in the context of helping her reclaim her motivation, is to really reframe how she perceives motivation instead of waiting for that thing to come as a prerequisite, but really just learn to discipline herself to actually do the thing regardless of motivation. So now we transition to the last C, which is commit. Kind of what Professor Steve Peters talks about here. So commitment. So in this book, in this chapter, he actually argued the same thing. Do not rely on motivation, so rely on commitment. And that is exactly what we have here, the last C, which is to commit. So instead of relying on feelings, and I feel like my face here. Okay, let me move here a little bit. So instead of relying on feelings that is unreliable, how about you build system structures and actually commit to them? And this is exactly what I do here with every student, because I do one-on-one coaching. And I really look at their life and we map out a detailed game plan. That's exactly what I did with Sarah. Okay, let's look at his schedule on day one, on Monday and Tuesday and Friday, and which we literally schedule the task to her calendar, because if it is not scheduled, it is not going to happen. And we actually create a system, we create structures, and the systems or structures that we created are actually aligned with her goals. And so you rely on kind of what I mentioned here, right? And stop waiting for motivation to come. So I have some examples here. If you want to become healthier, and so don't do the first picture here. If your environment is full of junk food, it is very hard for you to be healthier. If your environment is very healthy, you only have healthy food in your fridge, you are 100 times more likely to become healthier, right? And so this is, again, you're creating structure, you're creating system, you're not relying on motivation. Because if you're used to eating junk food, which lots of young people are, they're used to, I'm talking to my children. Maybe I'm making an assumption, but I don't think so, because I do talk to kids every day. And so if you are relying on motivation to eat healthy, that is going to be very, very hard. So the best way is that you actually discipline the environment. You build this structure. The only thing available in our house is healthy food. That's it, right? Or many of my students, they want to read more books. So if in your house, you don't even have any books, the only thing you have is iPad, iPhone, computer, TV, like so many screens, but you have no books available in the house, your kid is not going to read, right? So the best way is that create the system, create the structure here. In the case, get rid of the screens, get rid of the TV. Like if your kid has a TV in their bedroom, bad idea. If your kid has a computer in their bedroom, bad idea. If your kid has an iPad, if your kid have all of above in their bedroom, bad idea. Get rid of it. Discipline the environment, create the structure, and make sure the structure is in alignment with the goal that you want your kid to achieve. So in this case, the goal is to read more books. How can you discipline the environment? How can you create system structures that will actually help your kid read more books and reduce the friction, right? You make it harder to use the screen. You make it easier to read books. Environmental design. And lastly, this is my case, right? So last year, I procrastinated so much on video content creation. So this year, I have a completely different system. I got rid of my distraction. I got rid of my distractions, and I redesigned my environment. I created systems. I even have an accountability partner who asks me about my content creation on a regular basis, so that I have been pretty consistent. Right. So the key is that you always want to make sure the system, the structures are there and are aligned with your goals, so that you can still perform on days when you don't feel motivated, on days when willpower is low, when motivation is low. And so here, that is exactly, I think I have two books I will share with you here from James Clear here, Atomic Habits, one of my favorite books. So in the book on page 27, he mentioned here is really one of my favorite paragraphs in the entire book, right? So he said that if you are having a hard time, having trouble changing your habits, the problem is not you, right? So you can replace you with your kid. So if your kid is really having a hard time changing, maybe screen addiction, eating junk food, procrastination, whatever, not following through, not whatever they're doing. So the problem isn't your kid. The problem is your child's system. They do not have effective systems, right? So not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong systems for change. And this one is so good. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So all of us, we can have incredible goals, but if the system is not setting your kid up to succeed, your kid is not. So this is where commit. So what I'm asking my student to commit to is not to commit to the motivation, because I know that is unreliable. That's why so many people fail. And I work with high potential kids, people who are so smart, who are so capable, who are incredible athletes. Those are not lazy people, right? So what I want them to recommit to is to recommit to the goals. So first, not to the goals, to recommit to the structure. First, to create structures for them and to commit, right? So this is actually one of my coaching slides here. And this is what I share with my students. So in my coaching, what I do is very different from a therapist. I don't just talk. I actually have this what I teach you here. So everything I coach my students on, I have a very specific framework. And so every framework, I have a slide. So here, this is what I share with my student, right? Your system is broken. So think about whatever your kid is trying to change, or habits that are not serving them in terms of reaching their goals. So it's not that your kid is broken. It's not that kid is very lazy. It's the system is broken. So with me, I do a number of exercises with my students to really discover what is the missing link, and then we make a game plan and then commit to the game plan. And even here, another one of my favorite books, Willpower Doesn't Work by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And so I read this book quite a few years ago. Even in this book here, right? So chapter 2, he discussed how your environment shapes you. In fact, in this book, he said that if you are not shaping your environment is shaping you. Right? So the myth of willpower, which is the same. So many parents, they want their kid to have more willpower, to have more motivation, to have more self-control. All of those are really good intentions, but are not sustainable. And we look at chapter 5, 6, 7, they're all about creating system, creating structures. They are all about the environmental design, the external, not so much the internal, because we all know that internal is highly unreliable, even for really, really successful people. And if you haven't watched my video, you should definitely check out my video here or there. I discuss 3 common myths for goal achievement, and one of them like it's really relevant to here. So check out that video so you will understand, even though your kid is smart and your kid is capable, your kid has so much potential, why do they still procrastinate? So the title for the video is Why Smart Kids Still Procrastinate. That will really help you get insight on this. Okay, so here we recommit to structures. Okay, and here's a note I want to make regarding the last C. When you help your kid recommit to structures, and one thing you really want to do is to anticipate and brainstorm ahead of time on potential challenges, hurdles, and roadblocks. And so, for example, my kid, not my children, students I work with, right? So many of them, one challenge is that when they come back from school or when they come back from their part-time job, they're looking for jobs. So they really want to be productive with the hours they have from coming back home to until they go to sleep. Typically, that is 5 or 6 hours, a long time. Many people, young people, they cannot waste that time like, oh, I'm so tired, I just want to watch TV. And this is, again, relying on willpower, relying on motivation is not going to help your kid. And so what you want to do is that, so for example, many of my students, they will take a 30-minute break after they come back home, which is understandable. However, the mistake for lots of young people is that 30-minute break, they spend the entire 30 minutes on their phone. They look at Instagram, they look at TikTok, they play some video games. The problem with that is it is very, very hard to stop after 30 minutes. Your brain doesn't want you to stop. Like your brain's like, please give me more, please give me more, please give me more. So if that is what your kid is doing, okay, after I come back home, I have a 30 minutes break, and the break is actually be on my phone. I promise you, your kid, after 30 minutes, they're now going to do the homework. They're now going to do whatever they need to do. So you want to brainstorm. Okay, that is a potential hurdle, right? That is a potential challenge. If the break is a social media, phone or video game break, technology break, and how do you get your kid off that technology, which is going to be really, really hard. So when you brainstorm that, you know that is a big hurdle ahead of you. What are some possible solutions that you are going to create? Otherwise, you can have the plan. Okay, after I come back home from 3:30 to 4 p.m., I take a break. 4 p.m., I start working on homework. I guarantee you it is not going to happen if you do not have a plan to overcome this potential technology challenge. So when I work with my students, I tell them, don't use your phone as your break. If you really have to use your phone, do not make it 30 minutes, like 15 minutes. You check your Instagram, you check TikTok. After 15 minutes, you still have 15 minutes kind of recalibrate your brain. You shift your energy. You can sit there, do nothing. You can listen to some music. You do some drawing. You kind of recalibrate your energy, get out of the screen. And from that, it is always an easier transition to the deep work. Homework, resume, LinkedIn, whatever you need to do. That is an easier transition than from social media, video game to deep work. That transition is almost impossible. Okay, so this is what I mean by anticipate challenges ahead of time. That can give you lots of insights regarding how do you create a plan that actually works. Otherwise, what's the point of creating a plan if you know there are potential hurdles that are going to stop the plan from working? Right. So one way to really help you, again, I have a training on this video. This is what I did. So what you see here is, so every year I do the end of the year, I do an annual review and annual planning with my students, including my own children. I did a pretty elaborate training regarding this. And so you can watch the video here or here regarding the training. So in that training, I offered you a free PDF implementation guide, 20 pages or so, has my entire annual review and planning process. I highly, highly recommend. And this process is actually what I recently used. I did a talk at a pretty elite school, and I taught them this process. I have been using this process for years. Absolutely game changer. Okay, so what I shared with you here is only the third section in the entire annual plan. There are 4 major sections. So this one is called Capture Your Incomplete. So when you want to anticipate, okay, we're going to create a plan, what are some potential challenges, hurdles, roadblocks that can make it very hard for the plan to work. And one thing, when you do that brainstorm session, one thing you can do is that you look at all the things that your kid wanted to complete in the past but did not complete. Okay, so capture all the incompletes, and then I want you to pay attention to the last column here. So the reason that your kid did not complete this task or project, whatever it is, what stood in the way? Is it because of screen addiction, procrastination, stress, lack of clarity, not knowing the how, or feeling so overwhelmed, the project is too big? Whatever is the reason, really get to the root reasons, and then that can give you, because mistakes tend to happen again over and over. And so look at the incompletes in the past and ask yourself, okay, will the same reason, will the same roadblock show up again when I'm trying to commit to this plan? If this is the case, what can I do? Okay, so you kind of go through this process. Again, check out this and definitely download this. Okay. And so this is the last C, commit, not to the motivation, but commit to structures and commit to the goals, not commit to the structures, commit to the systems, and also recommit to the goals, just not commit to that feeling of motivation, because already explained, unreliable. So what you do need to help your kid recommit to is structures, systems, and goals that can keep them going for a long time. Okay, so that is the second section. And last is that I promise you in this video, I'm going to give you a big idea, one big idea and takeaway for your kid. I actually created this implementation table for you. You can also find the table in my in the implementation guide for you to use. So one big idea or takeaway for you and your kid. So when you look at the table, this is the 4C. Not clarity. So this is clarify. So clarify, connect, coach, and commit. And so for each of the 4Cs, I tell you what is the goal for clarifying, what is the goal, why do we want to connect, and why do we want to coach, why do we want to commit. And then I have some of the guided questions for parents that you can use. The last is what is a reframe that you can use for the parents. Okay. And you can review this, like for example, clarify. So what is the goal for clarifying, which is that you really want to name the issue, right? Because what you see is never the real issue. What you see is always the symptom, the manifestation of deeper issues. Unless you gain clarity on the deeper issue, you're never going to help your kid. That's exactly what I do with all the students in my coaching program. I help them gain clarity what is actually going on. Typically very different from what they think. The second, what is the goal for connect? As I mentioned, connection first, education second. If you don't make that connection, nothing you teach will actually land with your kid, will only make your kid resent you. Oh, my mom constantly nags me. I can't stand my mom, my dad, my grandparent. Okay. And coach, here, this is where we really reframe. And so the specific content for coaching is definitely different for every coaching based on the specific challenge. So in this case, what we did is we really reframe motivation as a myth. Waiting for motivation to come is unreliable, meaning that if you keep waiting for motivation, I'm afraid that you may never be able to achieve your big goals and dreams. And commit, this is not commit to willpower, but commit to structures, systems, and goals. Okay, so here are some guided questions and reframing. Okay, so please make sure that you download the entire implementation guide that comes with this training. Okay, so that is for this video. And if you are, and the link for you to download the implementation guide is in the description box. If you are interested in having your kid work with me one-on-one in our high touch coaching program, again, do not book a call unless you are really serious about learning more about my approach, how I work, everything. Do not book a call unless you are serious. So in the description, there's a link for you to book a clarity session with me. So in that session, we're going to take a closer look at where your kid is at right now. I'm all about giving clarity, because what's the point of giving your kid a solution when there's no clarity? So in that clarity consultation, and we're going to really understand where is your kid at right now and where would they like to be, right? So as a goal achievement coach, I really help your kid achieve that goal and close the gap between where they are now and where they would like to be. And I'm going to give you a game plan. In that session, thousands of dollars, but I'm not going to charge you that much. It is free. And so if you love the game plan and if you want my help to help your kid just implement the game plans, I don't have time to do this because after all, it took me 20 plus years to figure out the whole system to work with young people. And you can hire me as their coach and we can talk about that, the investment, everything. And if you are like, you know what, doctor, this is great. So you can just keep the game plan yours and continue to watch my free content, which I believe is highly valuable already. Thank you so much. Follow for more. See you in another video. Bye.